Hey guys, the Naxis here, and I want to talk to you today about something that's really important to me. Next week, October 2nd through the 8th, is Mental Health Awareness Week here in the United States. The reason that I want to talk to you about this is I've been suffering with mental health for 20 years. It wasn't until recently, about 2 weeks ago, that I finally got some help. That's really what I want to talk about today. I want to kind of share a little bit of my journey. I want to give you guys some information, and I want to try to help somebody. When I was 16 years old, I went to the doctor. I was going for my health screening, annual physical, whatever you want to call it. And I told the doctor, how I was feeling. I was bullied a lot, and high school, so I felt really low, and they're like, okay, yeah, you're depressed, here, try this medication. Okay, so I tried it didn't work, and then I tried another, and then I tried a third, and the last one almost made me feel like I was gonna die. When I took it, my heart raced. It was awful. It was worse than just feeling bad. So by the time I was 18 years old, I just stopped taking the medication. Later on, I got married, had a kid, and I was working a job. I was working for the state of North Carolina Department of Corrections. And I started to have spells where I would black out, or I would pass out, or I would become paralyzed. And I went to see a neurologist, and they ran all these tests, EEGs, EKGs, sleep study, CAT scans, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. In fact, the doctor who sat me down after about 2 weeks of running tests, he actually asked me, was I faking this? Was I making it? Was I just trying to get attention for something? And, it kind of pissed me off. Why would I put myself in a dangerous situation just for attention? Turns out, I found out years later that I was dealing with what they used to call hysteria. And that's where the body can actually mimic other disorders when it's under severe stress. And part of that stress came from the fact of I was dealing with a lot of emotional upheaval. I was depressed a lot. I would have really great days, and then I would be depressed for a while. And you got to understand, when I said I was 16 years old, that was 1996. And then when I went and saw this guy, this was the early 2000s. So, mental health research has changed a lot in the last 20 years. So for the next 13 years, I just suffered. I lost good time with my kids. It nearly cost me my marriage at one point. And finally, 2 weeks ago, I went and saw a psychiatrist. And he told me what I had pretty much figured out on my own 2 or 3 years ago. I suffer from bipolar disorder. And I say it like that for a reason. I suffer with bipolar disorder. I am not bipolar. The important distinction there is that bipolar disorder is a disease, just like cancer, just like AIDS, just like heart disease. All mental health illnesses, be it dementia, bipolar disorder, long-term depressive disorder, OCD, PTSD, these are all diseases. We need people to understand and recognize that these are diseases and stop referring to them as character traits of people that suffer with them. Like I said, I am not bipolar. Someone is not schizophrenic. Someone is not depressed. They suffer from these disorders. You wouldn't go up to a cancer patient and say, hey, you're cancer. Or someone with hepatitis going, hey, you're hepatitis. We need people to see these diseases for what they are. Diseases. A lot of times when someone is suffering, especially with a depressive disorder, people will look at you and be like, well, stop feeling bad about everything. Pull yourself up, or, just get over it. I wish I could. I really do. I don't enjoy being miserable. And I don't know anybody that does. Nobody suffering with these disorders wants to feel this way. We do want to feel better. We have a baseline, right? And we have these pathways for good and bad that go up. They go off here and they go off here. Some pathways are stronger than others. And pathways that lead to sadness and depression and all are higher than pathways that lead to happiness. And in a normal person, your threshold is low. So, you reach your happy and then you come back down. You reach your sad and you come back down. For someone that suffers from certain disorders like bipolar disorder, my threshold's up here and my happiness is below it. So when I hit depressive and I come back down, I rarely move down to where this happiness is. So I can't just pull myself up by the bootstraps. When I'm going through these, low depressive states, there's nothing I can do about it. Not on my own. Now, conversely, with bipolar disorder, I also have super high manic states where I can't sleep, I have energy, I feel like I'm king of the world, but they don't last very long. When you realize that someone has a problem, don't just look at them and be like, oh, well, just feel better. You don't go to a cancer patient and say, hey, stop having cancer. You wouldn't tell someone afflicted with HIV, hey, man, just stop having HIV, man. Come on, it's ridiculous. One of the biggest problems of someone suffering from a mental health disorder is that they're afraid of being judged. And rightfully so. Our culture puts a huge stigma on people that suffer from mental illness and with mental health disorders. Look at the media, look at television, look at movies. They often use mental health problems such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, PTSD, to portray psychotic killers. Yes, in rare cases, especially with a disorder like schizophrenia, someone could do something to harm someone else, but they're more likely to harm themselves. We need to get this stigma away from mental health disorders. We need to stop looking at people that suffer from them and judging them. We need to stop looking at them and being afraid of them. Because a lot of times those attitudes from others, especially loved ones and our friends, is what keeps people from seeking help. That was one of the reasons it took me so long. I felt like people were going to judge me because I had a mental health problem. And it's one of the reasons I'm making this video, because I finally understand that, you know what? I'm sick and it's not my fault. And I want others out there to realize that, hey, it's not your fault. You're sick. You need some help. You need some medication. You need some therapy. Those are the two biggest things you can do to help yourself. In this country, mental health is not treated like your regular health. Most of us have insurance or have access to a local health department, something to that effect. I realize there are millions of Americans that still don't. But when it comes to mental health, it's completely different. I have insurance. I get sick. I go to the doctor. I pay $20. I have a mental health problem. I need to see a psychiatrist. I need to see a psychologist. I have to pay $1,500 out of my pocket before my insurance will pay anything. And then they're only going to pay so much. And because my provider has very few within its system, I have to go outside of their approved list of people. They pay even less. They pay something like half. So when I need to go see somebody and it runs $200 to $300, that means I have to come up with $100, $150 out of my pocket. And anybody who's been in therapy before or had to see a therapist in order to get their medication knows that you got to meet these people at least once a month. We need to ask our representatives to make changes, to enact laws, to make mental health viewed equally with any other health problem. In 2001, the World Health Organization estimated that 450 million people around the world was suffering with some sort of mental health disorder in that 1 year. Throughout the world, 1 in 4 people will suffer from a mental health disorder or mental illness. At the current estimated population, that's 1.875 billion people on the planet. In the United States, among adults, that number is 1 in 5. Among children, the number's the same. 1 in 5 children, that's ages between 8 and 18, suffer from a mental health disorder. Mental health disorders often go undiagnosed, untreated, or undertreated. When this happens, the people dealing with it either deal with long-term, lifetime suffering, or unfortunately, turn to suicide. Remember when I told you I was 16 years old, on and off medication? Yeah, well, in those 2 years, I found a gun in my dad's room, and I stuck it in my mouth, and I almost pulled the trigger. I don't know what stopped me that day, but I was ready to take my life. I've also attempted, since I've been married, at least once. Approximately every 38 seconds in the U.S., someone attempts suicide. For every 25 attempts, 1 is successful. Suicide accounts for twice as many deaths in this country as murder. And according to the 2014 statistics, 42,000 people took their lives. 80% of the people that take their life in this country are men. Yet women are 3 times as likely to attempt suicide as men are. 90% of all suicides in the United States are committed by someone dealing with a mental health issue or a mental illness. Suicide for people suffering with mental health and mental illness is a very, very real thing. The good news is that 80 to 90% of people who get adequate treatment go on to live relatively problem-free lives as far as their mental health goes. Most people respond to medication. And again, therapy can also be a very useful tool. There's going to be a few links at the bottom of this that I'd like you to check out. Two of them have great information about mental health. One of them has a link to a page that talks about Mental Health Awareness Week, and it has a pledge that you can sign called #StigmaFree. When you sign it, what you're saying is that you will not perpetuate the stigmas, that you'll go out and you'll help others learn and understand that mental health and mental illness is a disease and it's not who a person is. One other thing I'll put down is the suicide prevention hotline. We'll list that number below. There is one website that I really want to tell you about. It's helpyourselfhelpothers.org. On that website, they offer a free assessment. You can do anonymously if you think you may be suffering from a mental health disorder. October 6th is National Depression Screening Day. And that website can also, by state, give you places in your state where you can go and get screenings for mental health. And I encourage everyone out there who may be suffering, who may be worried that, hey, people are going to think, bad things about me. Don't. Help yourself. Go get your screening. Go get your help. Talk to somebody. Honestly, I didn't even make my own appointment to see the psychiatrist. My wife made it for me because I've been with this woman for 18 years, and I told her, I can't articulate to you how I feel. How am I supposed to do that with a stranger? And she went with me. And I'm getting the help that I need. And honestly, guys, it's only been about 2 weeks, but I feel so much better. Now, that's not to say that I still don't have bad days, and I still don't get depressed, and I still don't have my manic days every once in a while where I just can't sit still. But when I have those bad thoughts that come into my head, they don't linger. They're there for a moment and they go away. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, before I go, I want to thank CFW for allowing me to make this video and graciously hosting it on his YouTube channel. Please, while you're here, guys, check out some of his other videos. Like his page, like this video, subscribe to his page. But more importantly, if this video impacted you, if you learned anything, if you're out there suffering, if you know someone who could benefit from this video, please share it with everybody you can. Get the word out. Let people know the Mental Health Awareness Week is coming. Let people know it's okay if they're having these issues. Help someone get help. Help yourself get help. Try to spread this word as far as we can get it to spread. Thank you guys so much for your time. And as always, have a great day.